What's up, guys? I'm here for the Week 3 fantasy reviews. I know some of you guys were looking forward to getting this last night. Normally, they will come out on Wednesdays. I believe the only reason I did it on Tuesday was I had a college game I had to do on a Wednesday night, so I had to do it a night earlier. Unless I have something busy, then everything will happen on Wednesdays. I like to do it on Wednesday, that way I can cover the free agent report, which obviously our free agent acquisition stuff doesn't happen until Wednesday. So, without further ado, we'll get started here. First matchup I have here is myself versus Joseph. Beat Joseph 117 to 88. Uh, Looks like I had 5 players in double digits, 3 with over 20. Drew Brees with 21, Devonta Freeman with 21, Brandon Cooks with basically 30. Jimmy Graham had 11, and Rashard Matthews had 18. Big bad spot on my team was the Ravens defense had -6. Luckily, I was busy on Sunday, so I was not able to monitor things till later on in the day. And if I would have probably freaked out in the morning knowing I was already starting the day off with -6. So luckily that didn't come back to hurt me there. Nothing really speak of on my bench. Nobody did anything there that was of any significance. Looking over at Joseph's team, he had 4 players in double digits. Tyrod Taylor with 18, LaShawn McCoy with 10, Jaguars defense with 14, and Matt Bryant with 14. Nothing to really speak of on his bench either. He did have some duds in his lineup. Gillislee with 3. Jeremy Maclin only had 1. Martellus Bennett with 3. So those are kind of the spots where his team struggled this week. So the next matchup we have here is Garrett versus Phillip. Phillip beat Garrett 121 to 98. And we'll take a look here. So if we start with Phillip's team here, he had 1, 2, 3. He had 4 players in double digits. 3 of them did have over 20 points. So that was a big week for him. Kirk Cousins had 27. Todd Gurley, 3 touchdowns this week, put up 35 points. A.J. Green had 22. He had Tevin Coleman, who gave him 10. He did have some points on the bench this week as well. Brandon Marshall had 10 on the bench. He could have had him in lineup and increased his score. Same with Sterling Shepard with 23 points on the bench. Did have Alex Smith on the bench who had 15, but obviously Kirk Cousins outscored him significantly. Couple duds in his lineup. Kelvin Benjamin with 2 points. Kobe Fleener with basically 3 points. Nothing special there. If we look at Garrett's team here, he did have 6 players in double digits, but then he had several players really crap the bed this week. He had Roethlisberger with 12, Melvin Gordon with 14, Pierre Garçon with 18, McCaffrey with 16, Chiefs defense with 11, and Ryan Suckup with 16. A big loss for him. Let's see, it's 21. I mean, he could have played Wilson. He still would have lost by a very slight margin. Wilson had basically 34 points, so would have basically given him 24 more points there, which would have been actually 22 more points, which would have been pretty nice there over Roethlisberger. Not sure what his thinking was on that decision. He had Gio Bernard on the bench who had 11, who could have helped him out as well. He had about 3 players who really crapped the bed for him. Jay Ajayi with 4 points, Crabtree with 1, and Kelsey with 1. So that's what really hurt his team this week. Next up, we have David versus George. David won that one 126 to 112. So that leaves us, I believe, with only one winless team in the league now. So we'll start with George's team here. did have 6 players in double digits. Did have some players not perform so well. Matt Ryan had 14, Frank Gore with 12, Odell Beckham with 24, Doug Baldwin with 22, Ted Ginn with 13, Zach Ertz with 14. He did have Eli on the bench with 22.6, which would have gave him about 13 more points. Still would have lost, but it would have been a much, much closer game there. Where his team fell short, Jonathan Stewart got 6, Darren Sproles with 1. We all know why he only got 1 point. Tore his ACL and broke his arm, so he is obviously out for the season. Panthers got him -1 point, which obviously hurts there. And then if we look over here at David's team, 5 players in double digits, 3 of them with over 20. Prescott with 23, Chris Thompson with 28, T.Y. Hilton with 25, and then he had Julio with 13. Mark Ingram basically had 10. Demaryius Thomas with 13. So pretty good day there. He did have Sammy Watkins on the bench, who had 26. Robert Woods on the bench with 14. Nothing else to really speak of there. No real duds in his lineup. I mean, he played Jesse James, who got 3, and then for whatever reason he left Randall Cobb in his lineup, who got him 0. News that was out basically all week that he was very, very doubtful to play. Luckily, it didn't cost him here. I believe he is scheduled to play Thursday night, so having him in the lineup's not going to hurt you. At least he'll play. I personally don't think he'll play that well, but just depends on your lineup and what else you have available. Next up, we have Phil versus Ray. Phil won this one fairly easy. It was 131 to 97. So we'll start here looking at Phil's team. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had 5 players in double digits, with 4 of those players getting over 20. Aaron Rodgers with 25, Dalvin Cook with 25, Antonio Brown with 22, Tyreek Hill had 18, Chris Hogan had 21. Nothing to really speak of on his bench. A couple poor performers. Delaney Walker with 5, Jacquizz Rodgers with 2. His kicker got him a point. If we look over here at Ray's team, he had 4 players in double digits. Carson Wentz with 13, Leonard Fournette with 16, Stephon Diggs with a huge day this week. Kind of surprising with Case Keenum back there, but he used to throw it around in Houston, so we definitely know maybe he's getting back to that with the new. I guess they have a new offensive coordinator there. I don't believe they have a new coach, but he put up 34. He had Saints kicker Will Lutz with 11. Not too much to speak of on his bench. Jamal Charles did have 12. Wouldn't have made a difference here for him. Where his team really had some duds. Matt Forte had basically 3 points. I know Ray picked up Matt Forte during the week as he was dropped and was a free agent. Ray placed a $19 bid on Matt Forte, and nobody else bid on him at all or tried to pick him up. So he could have potentially got him for free. Amari Cooper with a point. Eagles defense got him a point. So some struggles there. Obviously, Ray's had a lot of injuries on his team this year. So we'll see if he can try to piece it together and push forward. He did get a win the first week, but now he's down 2 and not exactly sure who he has next up on his plate. But I do like his team name as it kind of deals with all the injuries he's had. All I do is not Wentz. Next up, we got Dalton versus Michael. Dalton won this matchup 128 to 84. We'll start with Dalton's team here. He had 6 players in double digits. Mariota with 20, Carlos Hyde with 23, Jordy Nelson with 20, DeAndre Hopkins with 11, Gronk with 19, Devontae Parker with 18. Did have Amir Abdullah on the bench who had 10, and Alvin Kamara who had 12. Even Allen Hurns on the bench basically had 10. one thing to note is his kicker is now on the injury reserve. I believe he has a groin injury. And what's a little funny about that is me and Dalton made a trade last week, and we traded kickers were part of that deal. So it kind of worked out in my favor so far, anyways. Obviously, none of the players either one of us dealt did much of anything last week. So other than the kicker thing, nothing really took place there. Then if we look over at Michael's team here, he had 6 players in double digits. Stafford with 17, Mike Evans with 10, Emmanuel Sanders with 11, Adam Thielen with 12, Joe Mixon with 12, and Matt Prater had a huge day for the Lions with 19 points. He did have Lynch, who had 3, James White, who had 3, Jason Witten got him a point, Seahawks defense got him -4. I mean, so those are spots where his team really struggled. He had DeMarco Murray on the bench, who had 19 points. My guess is he thought DeMarco Murray wasn't going to play because I definitely would have played him above James White. I'm not so sure about the other guys. You know, he did have a tough matchup and he was coming off injury, but DeMarco Murray was your first or second round pick likely, so definitely want to get him in there when you can. And then the last matchup we have here to discuss is the game between Dakota and Ray Sr. None of the games really close this week. I believe this was the closest, or one of the closest, at least the closest game between teams who are actually good, in my opinion. Dakota won this one 128-108, so basically won by 20 points. He had 6 players in double digits. Winston had 16, Le'Veon Bell with 19, Elliott with 17, Fitzgerald had a huge day, had 27 points, Michael Thomas with 18, Kareem Hunt had 25. He did have LeGarrette Blount on the bench, who had 13, and Chris Carson, who had 12 on the bench. He did have Jack Doyle in his lineup, who gave him a point, and he had the Buccaneers defense, who gave him -6. If you look over here at Ray Sr.'s team, he only had 4 players in double digits. He had Tom Brady, who was the top scorer this week, I believe, at least at quarterback, definitely. Put up 36. Deshaun Jackson had 16. Golden Tate with 15. Tariq Cohen with 12. For whatever reason, he had Jordan Howard on the bench, who had 29 points. So if he puts Jordan Howard in there over, one of the other 2 running backs, Riddick or Javoris Allen, he gets an increase of 23 points, and that basically gives him the win. I know Jordan Howard had a little bit of a shoulder injury going into the game, but he was set to play. I just feel like you got to play your studs. I mean, you put him in. If he sucks, it's okay, whatever. I played my best player, but if you have him on the bench and it doesn't work out for you, I kind of feel like you're kicking yourself. Like I should have just played my best player. We view him that way for a reason. He also had Duke Johnson on the bench, who had 19. Mohamed Sanu with 11, so definitely ways he could have increased his points there. Like I mentioned, Riddick and Allen both had 5 and 6 points. Rashard Higgins, he had him in the lineup. He only had 2 points. Kyle Rudolph with a point. So there's just some positions he could have possibly moved around and helped his team out there. So that covers the reviews of the teams this week. I will have power rankings up on the league page, as soon as you guys watch this video, that'll be up. I'm going to look at the free agent report here. We all know the big free agent this week, in my opinion, was Wendell Smallwood. It looks like 3 people put in for him. Ray Lego put in for him at 9. I put in for him at 13. And Michael won the bid at 16. Some people put in for Will Fuller. I didn't think anybody would be thinking about him, so I put in a free bid. Phil put in a $3 bid. Looks like Ray got him for $7, and in the process, Ray decided to drop David Johnson, who was the number 1 pick in fantasy this year. So now David Johnson will be a free agent until noon tomorrow, when somebody in the league is going to spend probably majority, if not all, of their fab budget to get him. Because if you think your team is going to be good enough to make the playoffs, I believe he is expected back early December. So he could be a big push and be a big boost to any team heading into the playoffs. I know I definitely need a running back, so I plan on spending quite a bit on him. So good luck to everybody, as I'm sure everybody is going to be putting up as much as they can to get him on the team. The only other big free agent pickup this week looks like it was Andrew Luck. And just like Ray did last week, put in a $19 bid for Matt Forte. It looks like Dakota put in a $19 bid for Andrew Luck, and nobody else bid for him, so he could have got him quite a bit cheaper there. So good luck to everybody this week. I believe I'm playing Michael, so not good luck to him, as I plan on taking him out and still being tied for the lead in first. I believe it is a 7-way tie for first place right now. I believe there are 7 teams at 2-1. So hopefully this week we'll spread that out a little bit, and we'll all see who gets David Johnson tomorrow. We'll see who bids the most. Good luck, guys.